and welcome back. So for this episode of this Q&A video series that I'm doing, I'm actually not going to be alone. I've invited my lovely friend and my coach, Tom BLACKMAN, on, who's a performance nutritionist and also a trainer as well, and an ex-bodybuilder. So he knows all about diet and nutrition and can answer some of your questions far better than I can, although I will be talking about my personal experience. So I'm getting him on a Zoom call right now, and let's dive in. Alrighty. Okay, cool. So question number one, which was aimed at me, asking do you eat 5 to 6 times a day or 2 to 3 times a day? And I think they want to know if there's any kind of benefit to either. So personally, I'm a grazer. Tom knows this. I think the first meal plan that you gave me had 3 meals in, and I was like, I need snacks. I need to graze. And you were like, no, but it's more satisfying to have 3 meals a day. Personally, I don't work that way. I feel I like to eat every kind of few hours. So I was having, I do now. I eat around sort of 8 a.m. in the morning. I eat around midday or midday 1 o'clock. Then I eat again about 3-ish, again at sort of 5, 6. And then I kind of snack through the evening on yogurt and things. But Tom, what's your kind of opinion on this? Is one better than the other, or are they both fine to do, however you work?
It depends on what your definition of better is. So if it's, say, better for fat loss, there's no difference. It would depend on the total calories in the day that you ate. There was a study done actually where they had 3 meals versus 6 meals, and it was, let's just get this right, I think it was 3 meals of 800 and then 6 meals of 400 or something like that. Anyway, but the calories were completely balanced across the day. So the group that ate the regular meals, they lost a certain amount of weight, and the group that ate the 3 bigger meals, they lost similar amount of weight. So there was no statistical difference between that. So in terms of calories, it doesn't matter. The problem you're going to get is that, say with you like to snack during the day. So if you were to have 3 big meals, even despite that, because your brain is wired to have a few snacks, you would probably overeat because you would then snack as well. Whereas some people are set up for, say, 2 or 3 meals a day. If you gave them 6 small meals, they would probably overeat at all of those meals because they like eating big meals. So it really does depend on how you like to structure your day, and do you like snacking?
Fair enough. There's your answer. Right, question number 2. Now, this is the one I would definitely be stumped on, which is why you're here, Tom. In terms of supplements, I'm assuming BCAA and protein. Do you think glutamine, carnitine are also essentials and help in fat loss / muscle gain? Do you recommend any, and are there any to avoid? So I'll let you dive straight in on this one.
Okay, so BCAAs, you don't really need. I mean, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I've got a little jar of BCAAs here. But that's because I like the taste of them, and it's free at my gym because I own the gym, so I can just put it into there. If I was at home, I'd probably have squash, drinking through the day. Glutamine, I would say there's no need to have that in your diet. The only time glutamine might be beneficial is actually there's no time I think it'd be beneficial, because the majority of glutamine you ingest goes into your stomach lining. It is absorbed by the stomach lining. You would have to have some like peptide bonded glutamine to really get into your blood. And then it doesn't really do anything for your recovery. Potentially there's some benefits for immune system there, maybe, but not enough to warrant supplementing with it outside of, say, whey or something like that. L-carnitine, in the form that most people sell it, is particularly useless. There's 2 forms of L-carnitine, and I can't remember which one is the best one, which one is the crap one, but there are 2 forms. But then again, the evidence, you have to have it with carbohydrates, and it's not really a benefit to have an L-carnitine. The reason why people promote L-carnitine is because to get fat into a cell, you need to use a carnitine shuttle, like a train, to get it through the membrane into the cell to be used as energy, which is why people say, oh, if you have more L-carnitine, more fat can get into the cell, in theory. In reality, mostly gets absorbed by the body. and not used for that. Excuse me. One supplement I would say, which is L-carnitine based, which is beneficial, is something called L-carnitine L-tartrate. It's a specific form of carnitine. In studies, when they studied how it worked, they gave it to study participants with like something like 180 grams of carbs to deliver it into the body faster. And what they found over 6 months, and so this is a long-term thing, it's not something that's going to rack off in 6 weeks. Over 6 months, there was an improvement in body composition and also an improvement in glycogen use for fuel, as in more efficient. So, and there was no detrimental effect in terms of body composition, which you'd expect to see from 180 grams of carbs going in, like simple sugars. So there was no like fat gain, I should say, from having this carbohydrates as a shuttle. I've used L-carnitine L-tartrate with a lot of my clients. A lot of women with PCOS benefit from it because they have issues with using carbs for fuel and also, you know, burning fat for fuel. But you have to have it every day for at least 6 months to see the benefits come on. But it is almost like an overnight thing. You go for 6 months, or you see some like body composition changes almost overnight. And when I've done this with clients, it's like you get to 6 month stage, you forgot that you got this thing here. You go, why does that happen? What have we done differently? Oh yeah, it's 6 months on, which is weird. Don't know why that happens, but that's L-carnitine L-tartrate is a good supplement, I would say. But it's one of those finest, one of those top of the cake things. No point doing that if you've got, you know, calorie surplus and you're not exercising. You know, those are the key things you need to get right first before looking at supplements. Krill oil, I found, is very good for body composition. Working with clients anecdotally and myself, in studies, supplement with krill oil does help improve body composition. But it's also a fat, so you've got to make sure that you're not overdoing, overdoing it with fats. You want about 0.5 gram to 1 gram of that a day. The major benefit of krill oil is it improves your cholesterol levels. So your good cholesterol helps fight off LDL cholesterol levels. So that's the main benefit people take from it, but it's mainly used for that rather than, say, fat loss. Apart from that, I wouldn't say there's any fat burners that I would recommend. You need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. If you're in a calorie deficit, you lose body fat. These other things may help, but only if you're in this calorie deficit and you're exercising.
Awesome. And what about creatine? I don't know why that wasn't in there. I'm sure it wasn't the original question, but because so personally for me, I'm not taking any of that. I asked you about BCAAs the other day, didn't I? And the same kind of thing. I've got the sachet samples free, so I was like, I might as well just
use them. Yeah, why not? Not gonna harm you.
Exactly. But I just echo, I mean, I'm just a firm believer, unless you've got the basics in place, and there's no point in even bothering with any of this stuff. So, I mean, the only thing that I personally have is protein shakes. Again, I'd sooner probably get my protein from actual food. But, you know, when you're dieting with like preps and things like that, then it's just nice to have a bit of flavor, because I'm not, you know, at the cakes and cookies. And creatine is something that we only added recently and I mean, it seems to be going well for me, so I'm not stopping taking it. But what would you just say about creatine?
Yeah, I'd say creatine is definitely something that everyone can benefit from. Besides all the the performance benefits that you get from it in terms of more strength, maybe a potentially tighter muscle look, as in a fuller muscle look. There's also benefits that come to light recently about mental health, alertness, response to stimulus. There's a good, I think it was 2003 paper where it looked at the response to stimuli in terms of remembering and also brain activation when supplementing with creatine, and that was improved just from 5 grams a day. So as well as giving you more strength in the gym and more endurance, it also can help your mental capacity. And there was also a decent study recently about improvements from depression associated with creatine. So creatine has been mainly researched for sports performance, but now there's this other branch of research going into things like mental health and awareness, and that is the real sort of interesting side of it. So for me, for a supplement, there's been hundreds of thousands of studies done on creatine. The negative studies, as in it causes harm, I think it has to be in the 0.1%, and that was with a specific set of respondents, like people who had kidney issues, that sort of thing. majority of people see either no benefit or a benefit from supplementing with creatine. And with the fact that it's one of the safest and most researched supplements on the planet, I would probably say that it's worth adding into your diet. Just 5 grams a day, that's all you need. It's nothing massive.
Awesome. I know you've got to shoot. Can you do one quick question?
Yeah, go on then.
Amazing. Right. Do you think natural sugar like banana, fruits, and yogurt should be avoided for fat loss or / lean muscle?
No. So natural sugars, so fruit sugars. There was a good study done where they traced what happened to I think they marked it with like isotopes or something, and they overfed people with fruit, and I think it was something like 100 calories from like 1,000 or something of overeating went into body fat. So in terms of if you overeat on fruit, does it turn into more body fat? No is the answer. But if you overeat calories, then you are going to gain some body fat eventually. But the fact that fruit has been demonized into, oh, if you eat a banana, you're going to get fat, that's untrue. That's not based in science. What is based in science is that fruit has a very low affinity to actually turn to body fat. You're more likely to turn to body fat things like steak fat and egg fat and that sort of stuff. If you overeat on fats as well as carbohydrates, fat is converted easier into body fat than, say, carbohydrates does. So you still got to go through a process where the body expends energy to turn carbohydrates into body fat. It's much easier to try and burn that energy off through fidgeting or through extra moving about. And then the fat can be turned to body fat. That's a more natural process for the body to do. It makes more sense. It conserves energy because storing fat is an energy conservation exercise. Makes no sense to turn something which is hard to turn into fat when there is something that's easier to turn into fat, if that makes sense. Generally what you find with carbo feeding studies, and this is genetic dependent. So if you're Samoan, for example, you've got probably more chance of gaining body fat than, say, if you're an Anglo-Saxon descent. That's just the way genetics works, unfortunately. But, you know, let's put all that aside. If you overfeed on carbs, generally less likely to gain body fat than if you overfed the same amount of calories on fat. So fruit is completely fine to eat. It's low calorie per volume. I would say that if you're going to overeat anything, and apart from protein, fruit would be the thing I would go for, because it is very easily disposed of in the body, and it's very unlikely to end up as body fat.
And you were saying at night as well, if you fruit, like your body just chucks it out. Is it the sugar? Because it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, if you eat late at night and then you have to go to sleep, then you're going into a restful state. So there's more likelihood of storing body fat at that point because you're not moving around. But let's say we ate a banana before we went to bed, or we ate, I don't know, a cookie. I would say there's potentially more chance of the cookie turning into body fat than it is the banana.
Okay, amazing. And yeah, on that, I mean, I've been eating yogurts like sometimes 750 grams a day the whole way through. I love my yogurt with a sprinkle of protein powder and blueberries the whole time. So I still lost fat. So
exactly. It'll all come down to a calorie deficit at the end of the day. If you've got a calorie deficit over the course of the week, well, it doesn't matter if you ate a whole bowl of fruit before you went to bed. If you're in a deficit for the rest of the week, you will lose body fat.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to pick up the rest of the questions.
Thanks a lot. We'll do it another time, yeah?
Yeah, perfect. Cheers, Tom.
Right. Cheers, bye.
Okay, back to just me again. So, question number 4. Do you fast to reach your competition goal? I have not done any fasting for any of my preps. I didn't do any ridiculous things for peak week either. We just kind of steadily sort of cruised along. I've said before that if I was to compete again, highly likely, then I would probably, experiment with some things. I could have certainly dropped the calories a lot lower than I did. I was sort of cruising along at like 1,500. We dropped them by like 100 or 200. But there was never any kind of fasting. I wasn't even fasting in the evening as well. I was still kind of snacking into the night. yeah, sort of stopping eating early on and kind of having that fasted period, i.e. stopping eating around sort of 6 p.m. And not having breakfast till like 7 or 8 and getting a good 12 hours. I'd like to experiment with that and see how that goes. But so far, up until this point, I've not done any sort of fasting or anything like that for any of my competition preps or in general at all, really. But next year, I am looking forward to kind of playing around with a few things rather, particularly starting off in January and just seeing how different things affect me in terms of like fasted or taking certain foods out, just in how I'm feeling, also in how I'm looking as well. So I will definitely be experimenting with that. But so far, no fasting. And finally, question number 5. What are healthy, low calorie, low carb sources to make meat tastier? Now it says meat, and I wonder if the person meant to write meals, making meals tastier. So meat or meals, it doesn't matter. So I have a whole cupboard of herbs. I put herbs on everything. I have oregano, I have raspberry. I have oregano, I have rosemary, I have mixed herbs. I've got like dried basil. I always have a fresh basil plant now, so I literally buy one every week. And when I'm finished with it, I put it out in the garden and it kind of grows again and I bring it back in. So I love the taste of basil, so I'm always sprinkling that on my salads. The weather's getting a lot colder. Well, it's already gotten a lot colder. So I'm now finding that I'm making up like a broth. So I'm just using a chicken Knorr stock cube. I'm putting, I think I got some, I love fresh coriander, I really do. I haven't been putting that on my salads in the summer, but I'll use fresh coriander for soups. And I will, I've just bought, it's ground coriander, I think, just for ease and quickness. I've just been shoving a bit of that in. A little bit of soy sauce, but again, that's salt and there are sort of calories in there, whereas herbs, there's literally like nothing in them. Chili flakes, I put chili flakes on everything. So when I batch cook up my chicken, or like Cajun spice, there's 5 spices. If you look at the back, just make sure it's got no sugar in it, because some of them have got sugar in, but most of them are just literally herbs and spices, and you get some really nice mixes. So I always put that on any meat that I cook, or any fish that I cook. And as I said, herbs and stuff I put on salads. The other thing I also do, I use lighter than light mayonnaise, which is really low calories. So when I have burgers and salads, I'll use the lighter than light mayonnaise. If I'm having just chicken, then or anything with salads, then I use the Skinny Food Company's dressings. And I've got a really nice one at the moment, which is a chili and lime one. I've also got garlic and herb. They do a ranch dressing. Now, I've said this before in my vlogs. When I first tried them, I was like, oh, this is disgusting, because it just tasted really, really sweet. But if you are eliminating all the other stuff and you're eating like what I would call quite clean, and there's not any additives and stuff like that, so it's not processed food, then you'll find that your sort of palate changes a lot, and you'll actually really appreciate just like a bit of moistness to the salad and a bit of flavouring there. So yes, the Skinny Food Company are really, really good for their sauces. They're not 0 cal, they're practically 0. I think they've got like 1 calorie or something, like really, really small. So yeah, I'd thoroughly recommend that for dressing for salads. I think they have like barbecue sauce and ketchups and things, but I haven't bothered trying those yet. But otherwise, I just try to keep things kind of simple as possible. So lots of herbs, lots of spices, always checking out the like herb and spice rack in the supermarket to see what other delights that I can find. And yeah, fresh herbs as well. Always got a basil plant on the go. So those are all the questions that I've had in on the diet section. But if you've got any questions, then please do pop them in the comments below. I would be more than happy to answer them. And if I get a ton more questions in, then of course I can do another episode. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you again soon.